My name's Suzanne Brown. My maiden name is Wyatt. I have been coming to New Bridges for 2.5 years. I lived in Lewiston. I grew up in Lewiston, born here, left when I was 18, and came back with my son, Ethan. I grew up in the Lutheran church here, and I used to sit in church and think, wow, I want to clap my hands, and nobody was clapping their hands, and I thought that was a little strange, but I think when I look back, it was the Holy Spirit in me prompting me to clap my hands and be joyful. In any event, I got out of high school and wanted to go to a Christian college, and thought Pacific Lutheran University would be that college and not a drinking college, but it was the same. And I sort of fell away from going to church. I was disappointed with life. I was a straight-A student in high school, but when I got to college, I just fell apart, had no direction. And I came home for the summer, didn't know what to do, got a backpack, stuck a Bible in it, $20, and hit the road, and freaked my parents out, even though I was 18. It was a long story, but I ended up working for the government and just not really following the Lord. He was pulling at me. I could feel a spiritual pull both ways, evil and good, and that followed me for quite a while. The turning point, one of the turning points was shortly after I had had an abortion. My mom came down to visit me, and she said the sinner's prayer. She had struggled with alcoholism, had been saved in a rehab program here, and through her struggle, she brought me to the Lord, and actually the rest of our family. Even though we said we were Christians, we never had the Holy Spirit. And that's what makes the difference, I believe, in your walk with Christ. At least for me was. I had a peace. The abortion was not planned and horrible. It was an escape, a pride issue with where I was working, and God healed that through that particular moment. And I didn't get in with the right, foundations, and you need the foundation, you need the support system. And I went right back to what I was kind of just wandering around, not being in church. And there is no perfect church, and I think that's what I was looking for, was perfect people, perfect church. So I kept searching for that, not finding it, because of course the church is people, and we're not perfect. So through my travels, and still not being really tuned into God, as far as walking with Him, I was just career-oriented. I ended up in Canada, and I had a real spiritual awakening there. I had a dream where the enemy was pulling me down, and I woke up in a sweat. I was in temporary quarters at the time. I was so scared. I had never been so scared in my life. I turned on every light, the TV, the radio, everything, and I could feel an evil presence, and it was like, it's either now or not, so make a decision. I got out the yellow pages, and the first church that I came to was called the Life Center. So I got in my car, and I was so determined, and of course, my windows were all frozen up, and I couldn't see, but I got there. And so I turned to the first lady next to me and said, what do you think about this church? You've been going here a while. And later I found out she was a schizophrenic, but right away she said, no, there's nothing here for me. And I thought, great, first person I reached out to. But it was okay, because God kept pushing me. He says, keep going. And I came back the Wednesday night, and there was a girl that sat behind me, and that God was prompting her to come talk to me. And this was a lesson for me later on. She didn't want to, but because she did, because she came forward, she was my mentor for the next 2 years in how to pray. She took me way out of my shell to do what God wanted me to do. And I'm forever thankful for her. But had she not listened to that voice that so many times I've gotten, go talk to that person. That was the beginning of my awareness of what God can do in your life if you're listening. When I got here, I went to my parents' church, and it was okay. I wasn't, in service because I was doing nursery with my son. He couldn't sit in the service. And I have to say, once we started going to New Bridges, he liked sitting through Brad's sermons. I don't know. He would sit there and be quiet. I don't know what that was all about. But I started going to New Bridges because he would sit in the sermon, and then and it had been 6 years of serving in nursery, so we needed a change. And I love New Bridges. I love the people. We connect.